Welcome back to the Queen of TV channel. Now, some quick things first before we get into our intro. Firstly, I have decided to only upload videos on days that I actually have to work, and I've also decided, can't talk today, to upload a certain amount of videos so I don't end up getting overwhelmed with trying to get so many out. Second, there will be cursing and profanity. If that's not your cup of tea, this channel's not for you. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be giving my honest opinion about the episode and the show as a whole. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hello everyone, I am your host, the Queen herself, and you are the Prince and Princesses. You're either a subscriber or you are a viewer. Either way, welcome. Today we are talking about Charmed Season 1, Episode 1, Wicca Comes This Way. And yes, this is the recap and review being redone. We start off this episode with an unknown woman who apparently is doing a chant. She is revealed to be a witch, but before she can finish it, she is killed by an assailant who has been killing women once a week. This lady is the fourth victim, I believe. She also has been killed in the same fashion and has the same tattoo on the left part of her backside, which is right here, I believe. And the two cops on the case are Daryl and Andy. Daryl is a character who will be in the show until after season 7. Andy, we'll get to that. That brings us to the situation of meeting the speculations that Jeremy has, which is of witchcraft. Daryl does not believe him, but Annie is dead set sure that these women were all witches, and that is why they got killed. We also meet Jeremy, who is revealed in this episode to be Piper's boyfriend. They met 6 months ago after their grandmother died. And they've been dating ever since. Jeremy is a reporter. That is all they tell us on him. But more on him later. We go to the Charm Manor where we meet Prue and Piper. Piper's just now coming home and she has received Jeremy's gift, but Prue is upset with her because Prue had to leave work early just to pay the guy to fix the ceiling light, and she was not happy about that. Piper gift from Jeremy was some flowers and support that she needs to impress a famous French chef at her job so she could become a chef herself because that's what she went to school for. We find out in season 3 that Prue did not go to school for business or auctioning and stuff like that, or either architect. She actually went to school for photography, but gave that up to get an actual decent job to help pay the bills. So I'm guessing along the way she wasn't allowed to, or that just wasn't practical for her. But I digress. Prue ends up finding out that Phoebe is returning home. Phoebe is their youngest sister. Well, if you know the show like I do, as far as we know, Phoebe is the youngest sister. Phoebe and Piper have been talking because Piper knew about it for 2 weeks before they can talk any further. As Prue mentioned that Phoebe is always in debt, always in trouble, and that she has no future, which will become very ironic in the next few minutes as when Phoebe shows up, she reveals that she only owns a duffel bag of stuff and a bike. Piper decides to use Prue's purse with her money in it to pay the cab driver. Phoebe tries to have a conversation with Prue after Piper leaves, who was the only one that was actually happy and actually hugged Phoebe. But Prue is on the defense. Prue is assuming that Phoebe needs money, and Phoebe claps at her about the fact that Prue might think that Phoebe slept with Roger, which Prue is a bit taken aback by that she would throw something like that in her face. Well, the conversation goes nowhere, and Piper tries to smooth things over with dinner, but that doesn't work. Piper tries to talk to Phoebe, and they get to talking about reminders of that Prue had to give up her childhood to raise both of her sisters. This was revealed to be the fault of their grandmother. We don't find that out until, I believe, either this season or the next season. And this was due to their mother dying when Prue was only 5 years of age. That would mean that Phoebe at the time was a baby and Piper was at least 2 or 3 years old. Because Phoebe is the only one that can't remember her, so Phoebe was still technically a baby. Well, Phoebe already knows the story because this is something that they've been told over and over again. I'm guessing to explain why Prue is so rigid. Prue shows up to bring Phoebe some more covers because the room that she's in is known as the coldest room in the house. I'm sorry. More on that later. So, Prue is up finding a spirit board, aka a Ouija board, and says that their mother gifted to them, and on the back she wrote an inscription which said, "The power three will set us free." It is the main spell for the charm ones. They don't know this yet. So, Piper and Phoebe get to using the Ouija board and they get to asking it a lot of questions. Well, it ends up giving them an answer. They are told by the Ouija board to go to the attic. It was speculated, or at least it was hinted, that this was actually their grandmother who sent this message, and she did this for the sole purpose that the demon that's going around, yes, it's a demon, that killed all those women are coming after them. But the demon can only come after them if they ever receive their powers, which they have to because then people are going to keep dying. Phoebe listens to it and wants to go to the attic. Phoebe and Piper actually did see the pointer move. Prue tries to pretend like she didn't, or at least she doesn't believe it. Piper obviously is freaking out, is trying to go to Jeremy's, but Prue reminds her that Jeremy is not home and that she needs her help in the attic to fix the fuse box because the power went out. And she also tells Piper that nothing bad is going to happen. Piper reminds her that in every horror movie that has ever been, if a character says that, they always die in the movie. She tries to convince Phoebe to go with Prue, but Phoebe's going to the attic, but she is told that that door has never opened and she does not care if she ain't waiting till the morning. She goes up there, try to get the door open, can't get it open, but then it magically opens itself. She goes in there where she looks around and finds the Book of Shadows. This is when she reads the indentation. She says the following spell, trying to remember for selective memory. Oh my God, I cannot remember from selective memory, but it went something like, "Bring your power to We Sisters 3. Give us the power. We want the power." That wasn't the whole thing. That's the final end. Wait, am I starting to remember it now? Okay. Hear now the words of the witches, the secrets we've hidden tonight. The oldest gods are invoked here. The great magic is sought. That is the first part, but there's a middle part. Oh my God, my brain is like scrambled today. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna remember the middle part. I don't want to have to repeat the whole dang spell, so I'm trying to like say it in my head, is what I'm doing. Okay, I can't remember the middle part. There's another episode which is in season 2 where they repeat it again. Once I see that, I'll remember and I'll let you guys know. But she says this, and then it causes the chandelier to shake, where it releases this magic glow, and the picture frame that they had of themselves separated, which was actually taken 6 months ago by the grandmother before she died, started. to come together as if they took the picture together as sisters, meaning that the bond that was broken between them is now going to be repaired. More on to why their bond is like this. And this might be some spoilers. So Piper and Prue get to the attic where Phoebe tells them everything. Piper is upset that Phoebe brought her into this, and Prue's upset that Phoebe read a book of witchcraft. Piper looks around the house, asks Phoebe if anything happened. Phoebe says that she apparently looked around, the room was dizzy, and she threw up pea soup. No, nothing happened. They don't notice the picture frame at all. Well, when we get to the next day, Prue had went to work, and Phoebe is trying to convince Piper that they have powers. She read more of the book and found out that one of the sisters will have the ability of telekinesis, the other one to freeze time, and the last one to have premonitions. So it is as follows in birth order, which is Prue, Piper, and Phoebe. Prue with telekinesis, Piper with freezing time, and Phoebe with the ability to have premonitions. Which is why I said what Prue said about Phoebe was ironic. Well, Piper apparently does not believe her and reminds her that they have certain family members who are either a drunk, who are either mentally unstable, or, like their father, is invisible. She leaves as she has to go to her job interview, is what I'm calling it, where she has to impress this chef. Prue is at work when we meet her ex, Roger, who apparently has taken her project. He even calls her by her first name, which is Miss Halliwell. She gets upset with this, which I do not know why, because once you break the fuck up, there's no reason for him to continue to not call you by your first name. But she's upset because he took her project. She later on decides to quit and leave him a 1,000-page essay. He accused her of trying to steal something, but then she turns around and decides to get upset, and as she clenches her hands, which is strange considering that she's not supposed to channel her powers through her hands, she's only supposed to channel them through her eyes. She doesn't do it through her hands until later into the season, but as we can see, she can already do that. Well, Roger damn near dies. And this ain't even the first time she used her powers on him. When they talked the first time, she got upset, blinked her eyes, and his pen started inking everywhere, and it sprayed all up in his face, and he damn near got poisoned. Now he's about to get strangled to death, and he luckily cuts his tie off, wondering what the hell just went on. Piper is at her business that she wants to work at, trying to impose this chef into believing that she apparently is an amazing cook. He shows up too early before she can put the port inside of the pasta. She tries to tell him this, and apparently he insults her. Basically, Roger and this chef are both sexists. They do not care about the opinions nor believe in the opinions of women. They are absolute fucking garbage. So Prue decides that she's going to quit her job, and Piper decides not to quit her job because trying to explain this to him, she accidentally freezes him. He ends up not responding to her when she's trying to get his attention, and this is when she realizes that he could be frozen. So she goes ahead and uses the port with what little time she has left, and it tastes delicious. He loves it. She aces it. She has no words. She tries to go to the phone book to talk to Phoebe, but she ends up running into Roger. Phoebe didn't answer the phone because she's out on her bike, where she ends up having a premonition about two boys getting hit with a car when trying to dodge it. Well, she realizes that she just had a premonition when she comes out of it and sees those same two boys getting closer to that car that is starting to honk its horn for them to stop. She ends up getting in the way and saving both of those boys. She goes to the hospital where Prue shows up to come pick her up. Andy is there, and we find out that Andy and Prue actually used to date. Matter of fact, we actually find out um later on, I don't know, I can't remember if it was this season or next, that Andy actually known them since childhood. So yeah, they got some history. They get to catching up, and Andy admits that he checked in on her and he knew about Roger. Um, Phoebe shows up, and while Piper is gone with Jeremy, who takes her to a place where he wants to surprise her, these two go to a bar where they try to talk it out. It does not work because Prue does not believe Phoebe about her being a witch until she ends up moving a cup of cream for her coffee and ends up technically moving the liquid into the coffee without pouring it. She freaks out and drinks the shot of liqueur that Phoebe had, and she is upset that Phoebe turned to a witch, but Phoebe reminded her that she was born a witch. They get to talking more about it, where Phoebe reveals that as long as their powers were in the dark, they were actually safe from demons, but now they're coming after them because they can sense that they've gotten their powers. Phoebe is still going on about this, and Prue gets upset and says that she is not as happy about being a witch as Phoebe is. She is actually upset about it. She has a headache, and Phoebe tells her to move the headache out of her mind. She ends up moving the bottle of aspirin towards herself, and Phoebe realizes Prue power works when she's angry. So she tells Prue things that makes her angry. She even brings up their father. But Prue tries to say he's dead. Turns out he's not dead. More on that later, but she tells her the reason why she's mad at her because she moved to New York 6 months ago to go be with her father. And that she is mad that their dad is alive and left her mother. So much so, she ends up moving every single thing off the shelf into the floor. So now that she feels better, while that was going on, we see that that unbeknownst to Phoebe and Piper and Prue, Jeremy is not who he says he is. Because when he finally gets Piper to the place he wants to show her, she does not want to get in there. That's her witch sense telling her to watch out. She goes to this abandoned building with him, and they get to talking, and he accidentally brings up Phoebe, something that Piper did not tell him. He reveals that he is the one that is actually killing all the women and that they are witches and that he kills them to get their powers and now he's there for theirs. She ends up freezing him and she freaks out a little too long before she tries to leave and he ends up waking up until she knocks him out with a 2x4. She runs off and ends up meeting Piper and Phoebe at the house. I'm not Piper and Phoebe. She ends up meeting Phoebe and Prue. Prue saw that there was an answering machine from Roger asking her to come back to her job, which she heard. Piper comes in freaking out, asking about if the Book of Shadows had anything in there about a warlock, is what Phoebe finishes the sentence for her and says. This is when they realize that Jeremy is a demon. Jeremy wakes up saying that he's coming for that, coming from you, bitch. He's talking about Piper. And they are looking for a solution. Prue wants to call the police, and Piper says rightfully so that doing that would get the police killed as there's no way they can stop Jeremy nor explain why he's trying to kill them. Phoebe finds a spell and they cast it, but it does not work because he survives. I know this because when Phoebe touched the bowl, he was very much alive. They get downstairs to find him already at the door. Prue fights him off while telling her sister to go upstairs. And he apparently is not impressed by her telekinetically moving him into the wall. He even tells her that she did a cool fucking parlor trick, even calling her a bitch. While she runs upstairs, they try to barricade the door, which does not work because, of course, it doesn't work. He ends up disintegrating the door and coming and attacking them, surrounding them by flames of fire and then a gust of wind in a tornado. They said the spell from the inscription on the back of the spirit board, which works, but Jeremy lets them know that he is one of a million of demons, and that they are of different forms and different things that you can imagine, and that they will never be safe, and that they'll never actually be free from being the charm ones. More on that in my review. Once he is vanquished, Andy goes to see Prue and tries to ask her out on a date, but she has to reject him because she doesn't know if she can actually be with him and be a witch at the same time. They find out from the paper that the police are actually looking for Jeremy as he is a prime suspect of these murder cases, but that's not going to happen. The sisters talk about whether they can date or not, and of course, Phoebe says that yes, they always manage to date, and Prue says they even get the hottest guys. Prue ends the episode by using her powers to shut the door. So let's talk about the episode after I have realized something. Basically, I come to realization because I did not know if my camera was like a regular camera, if I can film videos. So I actually tested it and I filmed a video that was more than an hour long. So we're really going to get into a deep discussion about how I feel about this episode, because I feel like with me rushing and just trying to put out videos before, I was not able to be 100% genuine. And plus, I took a long time to get comfortable with planning these videos. So here it is. I, for one, am very aware that there are some people that do not like Prue and have not liked her for the first duration of 3 seasons, because the demons and the show revolve more around Prue than it did Piper and Phoebe, while the other seasons, which is 4 through 8, focused on all 3 sisters. Because if you do not know this means, here comes a spoiler, when I do a thumbs down, this means I'm done talking about it. Phoebe is not the youngest sister. They have another sister. Her name is Paige. Paige is half white lighter, half witch, and we will not meet her till season 4. So, Prue is disliked for those very reasons. My thing is that for right now, I do not have an issue with Prue. I eventually did have a issue with Prue, and I did not know what that issue was. I've noticed in this episode that Prue is the leader of the group, basically, while Piper is the mediator, and Phoebe is the one that's always has to be the sister that is put in check. She has to be the one that they get to bully, nonetheless, into like not being reckless, not playing around with her powers, actually taking things seriously. We can see for this first episode that she is over the moon about being a witch, while her other 2 sisters are not. Piper's is understandable because she wants stability in her life and try to actually have a decent normal life without any distractions that could cause her any harm or pain. Whilst Prue apparently is trying to figure out a way to manage their everyday lives with their Wiccan lives and keep everything consistent without putting themselves and anyone they love in jeopardy. So basically, Prue wants a game plan, Piper wants ability, and Phoebe wants to be all gun-ho about it. Now, from what I've noticed is that Prue is particularly harder on Phoebe than she is on Piper. Now, that is due to how Phoebe grew up, but that is understandable. Their mother died because she was killed by a demon. We won't see that until season 3. Their mother died when Phoebe was a baby. She does not remember her. She does not recognize her. Phoebe was either a baby or she was 1 year of age. her not having a mother and her grandmother being a anti-man feminist hater. She was a feminist who hated men and thought that men could not take care of women or children without a woman. So she fits the demographic of the toxic feminists that we know of today. Their grandmother is the reason why they are like this, because the grandmother forced Prue to raise her sisters while she was harsher on Phoebe about being an everyday child and a teenager and being constantly disappointed her, while Piper had to be the one closest to Grams and take care of her. So Grams made sure that Piper stayed closer to home and did her as a caretaker. This is why Piper seemed like the better person to be the mother figure than Prue did, because she never got the chance of actually just living her everyday life being a mother figure. And Phoebe was the person that was looked upon as someone who probably would not be a good motherly figure because she was reckless and selfish. So I can understand from us doing this, because we did this up to episode 16 and we're redoing this because I didn't like the way it came out the first time when I was doing it, that I can see that the demons are mainly focused on Prue because she is supposed to be the strong one. And to their knowledge, if they get rid of Prue, they can disrupt the Power 3. But they did not know that there is a fourth sister. Now, I necessarily don't think I would dislike Prue in the first season. I think by the time I get to like season 2 or 3 and I see that the character development of Phoebe and Piper is like pushed to the side, then that's when I'll start getting being annoyed. Because I feel like they had Piper and Phoebe be hated, whether that was intentional, unintentional, or not, for the first 3 seasons, because it would mean that people would focus more on Prue, which would hurt the character development of the other 2 characters. So by the time that she was no longer in the show, they could focus on the other 2 sisters. Now, I would say this as harsh as I can. That was too little too late, and Phoebe paid the fucking price for it. And I know that because of how the fandom acts to her character. The fact that she is hated for the most unreasonable things is ridiculous. Especially when people do not understand that she is fucking traumatized and don't seem to give a damn that she is traumatized. But that is the failure of the show for showing that traumatized side of her the right way. Yeah, I'm not the show. I'm going to call it out for what it is. But for right now, I can tell that Phoebe feels that Prue does not give a damn about her. And apparently makes her feel like she can't ever mount to anything. That she is a disappointment. While Piper is trying to be her big sister and try to reassure her that she is loved and she can do anything. So Piper babies her while Prue treats her like she is a fucking mistake in Phoebe's eyes. And Phoebe does try her damn hardest to prove herself to Prue, which she should not have to, because Prue is not her mother. Prue is her sister. And Prue does not treat her like a sister. So when we discovered that Jeremy is a demon, it does not come as a shock. Okay, so it doesn't come as a shock because in the first season, coming out the first episode and from the episodes we've seen, the demons are people who are unlikely known to be demons, but it's easy to tell that they are demons if you really pay attention. Like with Jeremy, he's literally only in one scene, and majority of the episode he's not in it. And then when he comes back for his second scene, up to his other 2 to 3, he is very mysterious. Like, we're told through Piper that they were together 6 months and that they are in a relationship. We are told through Piper that they met after her grandma just died and they immediately start dating. Like, it's only been 6 months. She's officially been dead 6 months and they have officially been together 6 months. It is strange that she would meet this man and he would give her his number that fast and they would be dating that fast in 6 months. But what's even more crazy is that he took her to an abandoned building and he did this without calling her. He just popped up and showed up. What tripped him up was that he brought up Phoebe because he got excited over the fact that he got Piper alone. Here's my thing. He only wanted to, kill them until they got their powers. They were supposed to get their powers after their grandmother had died because she binded their powers. She binded their powers 6 months ago. We find this out in season 3. She did it because they were not close. And that is due to how she chose to raise them and how they were raised. Because, big spoiler alert for anybody that decides to just watch these anyway, their grandmother, being the man hater that she is, forced their father to abandon his kids. This is why he abandoned his kids. And he knew he could not stop her because she was a witch. So either he willingly abandoned his kids or she would have cast a spell and forced him to abandon his kids. He never takes accountability for this. So they don't get their powers after she died. It's clearly as obvious as day is that she cast a spell to prevent that from happening. Why? I do not fucking know. Because I believe if they knew that they were witches, they would have came together as siblings. But I guess she didn't think that far ahead. So obviously he failed. Because I mean, you go after the fucking sister that can freeze time. You don't go after the sister that has had premonitions. You don't go after the sister that has telekinesis. Granted, you go after the one sister that clearly has an active power, because that is what these are. Telekinesis and freezing time is an active power. Phoebe does not have an active power. She has a passive power. She would have been the easiest damn target because guess what? She does not know Jeremy. She's never got to meet Jeremy. And Jeremy could have introduced himself to Phoebe and then tried to warm up to her. For the sake of Piper, she would have been the easiest to get rid of. But he picked the one sister he was dating, like a dankus. But you know what? There's nothing you can do. Okay? Yeah, I said that word. I do not care if it's not real or made up. It's a word to me. So, on the topic of Prue and Andy, since they apparently used to date, Andy obviously is already suspicious of magic, something that Prue does not know. But like this idea that there's no way they can date because he's human and she's a witch is true and not true. Because one, yes, I can understand because he would have to deal with demons in his everyday life, and this might be due to the fact that their mother and father didn't work out because their father is human and their mother is a witch. And Prue just felt like there's no way her and Andy would have worked out because of this. Well, we do find out later on they could have worked out, but Destiny had other plans. The relationship with the sisters, from what I can see, is that obviously Prue and Phoebe are strained and her and Piper are close. This is actually fact and fiction. This is fiction at first behind the scenes because all three of the actors were close, but Sharon Doherty, rest in peace, and Holly Marie Combs were actually best friends, which is why their characters are so damn close and actually have the most scenes together compared to her and Phoebe. Now, Sharon and Alyssa knew of each other, but this was like the first project they worked together. And it started off good at first, but then when you get to season 2, things start to get sour, and then in season 3, it got bad. To the point where Sharon had to be killed off. Now, this is not me bad mouthing a woman who is dead. This is me being 100% honest. But Sharon had admitted in an interview that she had told them if they did not put Holly into the show, she would leave the show. So my guess is that Sharon had this certain of strong mentality that she would work with certain people, but wouldn't work with other certain people. Because her and Alyssa both have like very strong personalities. Alyssa like likes one thing but doesn't like the other thing. Like a lot of people blame her for what happened with her relationship in season 4. But in all honesty, that was the director's doing because he wanted to change the show a bit once it got to season 4. We'll get to that when we get to season 3 and 4. But it got to a point where I believe that not all of it was Alyssa's fault. I believe the issue that Sharon and Alyssa had with each other is they both had creative differences for their characters, and that maybe Alyssa felt like her character was being pushed aside for Sharon's character to thrive, which it's not wrong. Because if you do pay attention to the first 3 seasons, a lot of the character development is given to Prue. While Piper and Phoebe's character development is slow. It's there, but it's slow. Like, Phoebe does not get mature and take magic in her life seriously and starts to, like, be less jumpy about fighting demons until you get to season 4. And she doesn't take romance and relationships seriously until season 3. So it's like they keep her in this loop for a little bit where she's learning to be mature and then at the same time she's not. And then you have Piper who apparently is still like trying to figure out her stability and stuff like that. And it takes her all the way going back and forth to I believe between season 3 and uh 6, and I believe they don't get it down right until like I want to say between season 4 and 7. So, I mean, it's like, it's understandable. They take too damn long, right? And I don't think that's the fault of the actresses. To be honest, these are grown ass women. They ought to figure out their own problems, you know? I kind of feel like the direction is blamed on like the people behind the scenes who were doing the show and filming the cast, because they could have easily like been like, okay, sure, we're going to do it this way. We're not going to go this route with your character and kill you off. We're going to actually put your character in some kind of comatose state and bring another person in, and then it will create the power of 4. You know, something like that. Or they could have just kept her on and then just like added a new sister or somebody. But, you know, the best direction they went was that they were going to kill her off. And Alyssa got the heat for that. But like Alyssa is like an actress. She is a co-worker. She does not have the actual direction of power to get anybody fired or killed off. And that would only be possible is if she was the one that was ruling the production, but she was not. The production team made that decision. And that was their decision. And I do not know why people still blame her for this to this day, but that doesn't make a lick of sense. Nor is it fair. Because if that is the case, like, that would justify a lot of reason why certain characters get killed off or leave a show. Is that it's another person's fault and that the actor is not to blame. Look, no one in that production team was innocent, especially when Rose Gowan, hopefully God I'm saying your name right, came onto the show. None of them were perfect. They all had a part to play. They all had an issue that they refuse to solve, that they refuse to do. Like even today, as adults, they still refuse to take any accountability of things that they might have done or said that instigated the issue, and they keep talking about it. And I just feel like the fandom has become instigators into this ridiculous fucking feud because at this point they're all mothers, they all are adults, they're all married, they all have their own lives. So I don't understand why they can't just, I don't know, let it go and just say, okay, me and you do not agree on the same things, but that's all right. You have your opinion, I have mine. Let's bury the hatchet for the sake of the show, so fans can just enjoy the show without pointing fingers at characters and ruining the characters themselves, because that is what happened. That's why so many people hate Phoebe, because the other actors will not just let the shit go or admit the real issue with Alyssa. They keep being fucking vague about it. And I just do not know why. Like, this is ridiculous. It is just a fucking show. It is not the character's fault that the actors and actresses can't just bury the hatchet for the sake of just burying the hatchet. But on the counter note, unlike the episode as a whole, it was a very enjoyable episode. It's actually a very enjoyable show. The issue is that the stuff behind the scenes and the fact that certain people watching the show discredit the characters a lot for things without understanding them and seeing that they may be witches, they may be charm ones, but at the same time, they are human beings who are reacting as human beings. And I just feel like that is why the show got mistreated. Like literally 7 and 8 is not a terrible season. None of the seasons are terrible. H2O is in the same not H2O. Charm is in the same demographic as literally Game of Thrones. And you know what? Yeah, H2O season 3 is too. Like it's hated for the wrong reasons. And is been giving these ideas of reboots or these like new spin-off shows to try to outshine them, what the Charm reboot was doing. Like a lot of people are saying that the Charm reboot is just an inspiration to Charm. That is a load of fucking bullshit, because if it was just an inspiration of Charm, why the fuck is it redoing certain story arcs that Charm had already done? No, it is a fucking rehash to the TV show. That's why it's literally called a fucking reboot. Literally. They had commented before the damn season even came out, the very first one, that they thought that Charmed was fucking whitewashed because it was about white people. And that they apparently are going to fix the feminist shit in the show and make it more about femininity and women empowerment than what the show is actually about. From the first literal fucking episode, I can tell that this show's supposed to be about sisterhood and their lives as witches. while the other show is about women being fucking mistreated. Which is, what the fuck does that got to do with them being witches? That is not their fucking problem. That is society's problem to fix, not the damn charm ones. They're supposed to be protecting people from getting killed left and right by these demonic forces coming from literal hell. And if anybody has a question as to why the fuck people are having an issue with it not being said that in the original charm that demons are being murdered, that they're being killed, let me fucking remind you, they're not demons because they don't have fucking emotions or don't have souls. Demons are not human. They're not even alive. There is a reason that they don't feel fucking agony and pain like that. Because they're not alive. They're from literally hell itself. They're not human. They don't have a soul. They don't give a fuck about killing people. They actually enjoy killing people. And they literally do not have remorse. They're selfish, they don't have self-respect, and they literally use love as a manipulation tool to get people to give them what they want. That is what a demon is, a manipulator and a makeshift for evil and to spread demonic influence. Why are y'all justifying that bullshit that one character mentioned? That damn girl is only talking like that because her fucking mother mistreated her for being half demon, despite the fact she laid up with the demon and had her. That comes from childhood trauma. She does not know the first thing about why witches are attacking demons. Because demons have been killing people every single day, even before the charmers started going after them. How can you be mad at them for stopping them from killing more people? What sense does that make? Y'all trying to use the murder is murder logic on a fucking TV show that is about witches and magical fucking creatures that do not exist. And ain't got a damn thing to do with any racial problems or any fucking issues that are going on in our every fucking day lives. It is not bothering you that damn much to see that shit. And you going to cry for some people that's going around murdering people and not giving a fuck about doing it? You're going to cry for evil. That's the same bullshit that Cole tried to do in Power Rangers Wild Force when he thought the fucking orgs had emotions and discovered they don't even have a heart. So, I mean, what the hell is up with y'all on the bullshit? You know what? If I ever do the Charm reboot, if y'all ever vote for that damn show, I'm telling you right now, y'all gonna get the negative energy out of me. Because I'm finna tear this damn show apart. Because I feel like all the other people that watch this show are not tearing it apart enough. They're not calling out a lot of inconsistency and a lot of bullshit that they do to try to justify that they are trashing the original show. They're literally making fun of Charm. Most importantly, they make more fun of Phoebe than they do Piper and Prue. And it fucking shows, and it pisses me off. I cannot stand Maggie's character for the disrespect that they tried to give towards Phoebe. Because I know that's who the fuck she's supposed to represent. And it's not funny, nor is it cute, and I don't appreciate it. Because what does this character color got to do with this character? It pissed me off when someone commented that Anne Boleyn's story is more fucking important now that she's a black woman. You think it's not going to piss me off even more when you try to use actual colored people to try to trash non-colored people and think it's not racist? Because racism is still racism no matter the fucking color. Just as much y'all say murder is still murder. But we don't want to talk about that, do we? So, yeah. Charm Reboot's not my favorite. And in the Charm original, you kind of realize a lot of stuff. You know, it's easy to detect the demons. It's Easy to see the relationship of the sisters. Now, their relationships will change. And this is obviously me doing these videos to give Charmed and H2O some literal justice, because I feel like they are being mistreated. And they're not the only fucking shows that are having characters get mistreatment or having seasons get certain mistreatment. And if no one else is going to give the show justice, it's going to have to be me. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to give the show itself justice. I do not care about what happened behind the scenes. I do not care what other shows and TV shows who try to poke fun at Charm think about them. I'm going to defend this show until the day they put me in the graveyard. So I hope that you guys enjoyed these longer versions of these videos, so that way we can actually talk about some things and kind of break a lot of things down. Now, I will say this. I love the fact that they did English spells, which makes sense because witches come from all forms of cultures and all forms of color. So it makes sense that certain witches have certain different language barriers, which is one thing I did not have a problem with the Charm reboot. It was fine that they were Latino witches. My issue is that they did not have any Latin American topics. Not enough of. It wasn't even about them being Latino. They kept referring them as Black Latinos. And they only talked about Black people issues and not Latin American issues, which is something I do have a problem with. So, which I feel like is unfair of the actresses who I do believe are from Latin American descent, not just Black descent. And they did try to throw English in there from time to time, but it was just mostly like Latin speaking, which obviously is going to be hard for other viewers of the show coming from the original because they do not speak Latin. So you would have, and you can't even read the captions. I think the captions on not YouTube, on Netflix do translate the stuff to English, or I think they don't translate it to English. I'm not sure. Like I said, until you guys actually vote that you want me to watch it, I'll watch it. But I'm gonna watch it with a grain of salt. Now, this first episode was obviously amazing. This is a great way to start off the plot. You know who the characters are, you understand their powers, you understand why they have certain powers. You actually apparently come to the realization that anyone that you know might not actually be who they say they are, because Jeremy is a good lesson into that. It is obvious that Jeremy fits an archetype of a male who comes off as this sweet, quirky guy who no one would think is like a bad person, who would think is actually violent or dangerous, only for one thing to like set him off, and it realizes that he is not as good of a genuine guy that he pretends to be. This fits with the fake nice guy archetype. While we have Andy, who is the childhood love interest who comes back into your life, and things become complicated, especially for Prue. Now, Phoebe is going to come into her own. Yes, Phoebe is excited about being a witch, and that obviously does change over time, which makes sense. She will get older. She's like literally in her early 20s, basically. While Prue is about damn near 30 and Piper is in her mid 20s. So it makes sense that based off of their age and their youth and their experiences, they're going to react in different ways. That's all I got for you guys today. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, like I said, and please, you know, watch the video all the way through. I hope you guys like this longer version so we can actually get in more detail about some stuff without me trying to just rush into it and just talk about whatever. I really want to give you guys a speculation on how I feel about certain stuff, and you will see in this video at times I will talk about the reboot and other TV shows like I've done in H2O, but you know what? That is because they're connected in a certain way or they fit the same narrative within society and fandoms. So I hope you guys have a blessed day. I hope you have a wonderful day. And if no one has told you this today, I'm telling you, or even yesterday, I love you and I will see you guys in the next charm video. Bye guys and have a wonderful time.